It's time to talk about sizing. In the pattern, to work out what size you make your yukata or kimono or haori to make traditional Japanese clothing, we take the strip of fabric, and to make the sizes, we adjust our seam allowances. And to do that, we need to find our Ushiro-Haba. I've simplified this from the Japanese method just a little bit to make it a little easier. There's a size chart in your pattern to show you what we're looking for, and it goes through with the US UK sizes from sort of 6 or 2 up to 24 and 26, and then that translates it to whether you're a small, medium, large. These are the sizes that we then use to find out Ushiro-Haba. Your Ushiro-Haba, it literally means this measurement. So it's the back panel from the side seam round to the center back on your garment. So there's also a Mei-Haba, which is just means the front half. It means front width. So it's literally from the front overlap, this seam here, to your side seam. That's Mei-Haba, front width, and then Ushiro-Haba, back width, is from here to your center back. There are all other kinds of ones. There's the Eri-Haba. Eri means collar, so it's the width of your collar. There's Sode-Haba. Sode means sleeve, and so it's the width of your sleeve. There are measurements called the Yuki, which is from here down to there. There are so many different measurements, but what I've tried to do is really condense it down and simplify it so you can easily look down a chart, go, okay, I'm a UK size 12. I need to make a medium-sized garment. That way it's a lot easier. And that is what I'm doing today. So this garment, as we discussed before, is made for someone of this height, the average woman's height, at least in my family. That's what height they are. And I'm going to make this for a UK size 12, which is a US size 8. The Ushiro-Haba, the width of this fabric, this is your body piece. The width of this, once it is sewn, so after we've put in the seam allowances, should be 30 centimeters or 12 inches. So what we need to do is find the 12 inches or 30 centimeters on the panel, and you do it by sort of centering your 30 centimeters and then working out what the seam allowance is there. And on this, it's going to be about an inch of seam allowance on either side, and that's going to make the panel 30 centimeters wide once sewn. So you see there's the edges, and that's it once sewn. I've put it into a chart form so you can literally look down and go, okay, I'm making an extra large for myself because that's what size I am. And then you can do the corresponding measurements and work out how you do your raw edge management to correspond with your sizes. It can all look a bit daunting to start off with, but once you start thinking about it, because these are such simple pattern pieces, we only need to find the Ushiro-Haba, the width of one part, and we use that across the garment. You can get into a lot of detail by changing the sleeve measurement and having diagonals up here if you really want to taper around the body. But this is wrapped, like look at this, this is wrapped around me right now, and it fits me. I made this when I was a bit larger as well. It still fits me now. So they're very forgiving garments. So once you find your Ushiro-Haba, we do the same seam allowances, the same thing for your body pieces and your sleeves. So this width is exactly the same as this width here, from there to there. It's quite simple once you get into it, but understandably, it's quite daunting when you first start reading about it. This chart is applicable to men and women because the garments are unisex. It's how you put them together that changes whether it's masculine or feminine, and it's basically just about the sleeve. So the measurements and how you measure yourself for it is about the same. You measure around your waist, you measure around your widest part. So that could be your hips, it could be your waist, or it could be your chest. But I make this, I put it for hips because most people's widest part is their hips. It certainly is for me. And you measure around to find your circumference. And then to that you add 2 inches or 5 centimeters for ease, because you don't want this really tight around you. You want to be able to wrap it and move it around you. Then you look at the chart and find out where that sits. The front overlaps. So this part down here that literally overlaps at the front, and I've got the pattern piece here. Once this is sewn to your garment, you want this to be about 15 centimeters or 6 inches wide. Because these are often quite slim, it's okay if it's 14 centimeters wide or if it's 17 centimeters wide. So you can move around half an inch here, half an inch there to make them fit. The reason you want them around that width is for the ratios of the yukata. It's about half the width of this panel. That's how you work it. So if you're scaling this down for a child or up for a plus size, what you're looking to do is to make sure that your front overlaps are about half the width of your main body piece or your sleeve piece. And then the same with your collars. They're folded over and they're about half the width of your front overlap. Everything is about these halves, and it's what gives the kimono or yukata or haori the overall balance and that beautiful aesthetic. What you're doing here is working out how to get 15 centimeters or 6 inches out of this. You adjust your seam allowance accordingly. So for this, I'm going to do a 1 centimeter, ½ inch seam allowance. And on the body pieces, I'm doing a 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters seam allowance. So you've got different seam allowances meeting up. But once you know them, you just line them up and then you're sewing straight. So it really is simple when it comes to putting them together. It's just those little tricky parts when we're measuring. And if you don't really know, choose your size on the chart and go with the size. They're really forgiving because we've got these overlaps and because everything shifts so much. It's quite easy to make a kimono or yukata that will fit you within quite a large size range. If you're making a plus size garment, this is easy to do because these are all big rectangles. You just need to make them wider. That can be by doing slimmer raw edge management, not turning over so much, and having much smaller seam allowances. That's going to give you a lot of space. Or you can use a wider fabric and cut it in the way we cut narrow fabric. So on wide fabric, you cut 3 panels instead of 4 panels. Thus, each panel is wider and you're making a larger garment already. It's really that simple. These are rectangular pattern pieces. There aren't curves. We can do anything with them and we can resize them to any size we want very simply. Just for reference out there, everyone, my waist, my hips around here is 42.5 inches around the widest part, which is around my hips, because I've got a big behind. I've got a big stomach, but it's wide around here. So that is 108 centimeters. And I use the LL measurement. So I do this yukata that I'm wearing right now. It's a little bit big for me because I made it when I was a little bit bigger. It is, the Ushiro-Haba is 34 centimeters from side seam to front overlap. So that's 13 and a bit inches. So that's how big this one is for me. I'm 5'7" and I weigh about 92 kilograms. So if you're looking to make something for someone that size, use the LL measurement, or maybe an L for large. That will work for a guy of about my size. Just so you can see what I'm doing. I've got much larger ones because if you've watched a couple of these videos, I was much larger. I'm slowly decreasing, so some of these I am going to have to take in, but it's very easy, and I use this method and these cutting instructions for all of them, and they all work in different sizes. I'm Kimono Alex. This is House of Kimono. Follow me for everything about kimono.